Welcome to the Casual Adventure Notes podcast, the CAN podcast. Lazy, easy listening about little life's adventures.
And lessons.
And lessons. You just dropped something and broke something? No one can hear you, by the way, but what? You broke the clapper?
Yeah, the clapper broke. Like one of the nails fell out. And I think that's where the other nail came from that we also found, like, I don't know, a couple episodes ago.
All right, well, we got to fix that because I am emotionally attached to that. Anyways, I'm Doz, and this is Devy, who is fumbling around trying to get ready. And you would have noticed if you're watching the visual version of our podcast that it's looking a little bit different. And that's because we've been messing around with how to do the audio the last few episodes. Debbie and I aren't experienced in audio production, so we've kind of just been like learning along the way, figuring out what works for us. Debbie likes to move around a lot when he talks, and then the way the mics have been set up, it only picks up a certain volume of speaking and from a certain angle, just with the mics that we have as today. So we thought we'll try a handheld version.
Yeah, it's actually really different because I'm just used to like having my hands free. You're right though, I'm a very emotive speaker, kind of moving my heads.
You just did it. You just did it. So anyone who's listening to the audio is just going to get this up and down.
All right, I'm going to be conscious, like wherever I turn, like the mic just comes. Is that better?
Yeah. So like I'm not a microphone expert, but like if I could teach you anything, which is what I got taught in school once, it's something like there's different types of microphone. There's like directional and omnidirectional or something. And the microphones we have, it's like, I think it's directional. So there's only like one side that picks up sound and the rest doesn't. And that's on purpose to kind of reduce like background noise and stuff like that.
I think you definitely probably talk much clearer because you're wearing headphones and so you're actually emitting higher volume, whereas I don't have any headphones.
You're doing it again.
Talking at a very normal volume. I'm just holding it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, still a bit of adjustment. This is a pilot, so
it is a pilot.
Please forgive the bad audio, mostly on my end because it's just me, apparently.
Yeah.
Did I do it again?
No. You're good. So just make sure that you keep the microphone to your mouth the whole time. But let's get things started with our palette cleanser. We'll go with another 101 series. What's on top at the moment?
101 things I learned in psychology school. So it's actually probably one of my favorite out of the three.
All right. Do you wanna read it today?
Yes. I'll just have to do it with one hand now that I have to hold this mic. But what number did you want to pick, Doz?
Number 12.
Something easy for me, please.
12?
All right.
You can like put it down if you need to flip the book. This is why they say men can't multitask.
I know. Anyway, I've got it. So I don't think we've actually done this one. So good picking. So the title is Significant is Not Necessarily Important. And then on the left-hand side, there's like this little hazard sort of symbol. Whether you can see, probably not. So statistical significance means that the difference between two values in a test is large enough to register. A researcher must be able to identify significant data variations, but should not assume that they are necessarily important. A finding is important when it has implications for the real world, such as new counseling techniques or medical interventions that improve the quality of life. When study data shows a significant difference, identify specific ways it can help people in their everyday lives. It is important. If importance cannot be found, see if the data suggests new avenues and questions for research or practice.
Okay, that's a less exciting fact, if I'm honest, because it's just like, it's like structures and stuff like that about doing research in general, right? It's just basically saying not all data is good data. Like it has to have meaning.
Yeah, sort of. To be honest, I'm like not entirely sure of what it's actually trying to articulate.
Just that. It's literally that. It's like all data is not always relevant to whatever you're researching. So just make sure that you analyze it properly. And if it's not the right data, you can always like follow up on top of that data to make it relevant. It's like research methodology, I guess, is probably the thing. It's just it's a call out, right? Because I think there's something called confirmation bias. So I think it's like kind of playing around that. So confirmation bias is when you already have an idea in your head and then you go out of your way and you just find things that back up what you already think. And that's confirmation bias because you're just associating things to your own benefit. And it's quite common to do that subconsciously anyways about anything really.
Yep. You actually probably explained it better than this book did because I actually just read it literally 2 times and I still didn't really understand what the gist or the main message it was.
Well, I don't think that specific chapter is about confirmation bias, but I think it's like a cut from the same material because I think, yeah, it's basically just saying like when you're dealing with facts or you're trying to like produce facts, it just needs to have like, you have to be unbiased. So then therefore you have to like go out of your way to be quite deliberate, find something of significant. If there's a difference, make sure like it's enough of a difference to qualify something. It's like when you do like, what's the word? When you, like a study is only as good depending on its sample size. Like the bigger the size and the bigger the diversity, like the more likely it's going to ring true versus like if you interview 3 people and they're all the same type of person, then your results are going to be skewed. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I find like sometimes when someone's like trying to prove a point, they'll like be very selective of the specific sample just so they get the outcome or result that they want, which is probably very...
confirmation bias.
Yes. Is that what you... Okay, yeah. All right.
It's literally that, right? It's like, what's the word? Like they'll say, blondes have more fun. Like that's a generic statement. And if you want that to be true, it's very easy to find all the examples of all blondes that have fun. So you're like, see, they have more fun. But then you are probably ignoring the ones who don't, for example. Or you're ignoring or you don't deliberately point out people with dark hair who are having fun, for example.
Is that kind of like stereotyping then almost?
Yeah, but you're just reading into my statement. I was just giving an example.
Example, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think the color of your hair determines anything. Also, did you how do I say this? There is like a stereotype depending on your appearance, which I don't know if it's good or bad, but people play into it all the time. Like if you see someone look a certain way, have a certain hair color, you always immediately have an association with that. It's kind of weird, and I don't know where it started or where it came from. Like, was it movies? And then who did it first? Like, you know what I mean?
What would be? But what's your example you're talking about?
Well, we're going with blonde, because I definitely don't think this, but like, you know, blonde sometimes are associated with like a little bit ditzy, a little bit.
Yeah, that's definitely media betrayal. I'm wondering, like, I don't think of like a key figure or media person that sort of embodied that, and that was sort of what gave it the stereotype. I don't think with I was gonna say Barbie, but then like technically Barbie is like very adult. No, but the character is like. I mean, she pretty much has a degree in everything, and you know, and any occupation, so she's not really technically ditzy, really.
Have you watched the Barbie movie?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
It's such a good movie. I know it's really dated. Like, it's very late to talk about it now because it kind of went viral whenever it came out. But it's good because it plays into that. Like, it plays into like Barbie's actually quite amazing because she can do everything. She has done every job. And then they kind of like toyed with the idea like if women ran the world, this is how it would run. It was good. Good movie. Okay, let's get straight into our main course. Our main course today is based on something that happened to me at a restaurant recently, and then it reminded me of like when I used to work in hospitality. So, we went into a restaurant, and then like the waitress just like was like, "Oh, hey babe, like take a seat." And she like called me babe. I was like, "Oh, that's so nice." And then I was like, I remember when I worked in hospo, I did the same thing, especially with regulars, because I was not always the greatest at remembering names, but I'll remember faces and stuff like that. But then you also kind of want to like, I don't know, portray like a level of friendliness or acknowledge that like, oh, like you're a regular, so I recognize you. So you just always gave them like nicknames. So I used to, in hospitality, I would use the pet name like Han a lot, like, oh hey Han, take a seat, blah blah blah. And I was wondering if other people actually really liked it, because I really liked it. Well, I like it when females call me pet names, but if like a male probably called me babe, I'd be like, F off, who are you? You are not allowed to call me that. Like, how dare you?
I wonder if it's like a more an Australian thing, because I think, according to the stereotype, a lot of people associate with Australians being very overly friendly, and so they give people that they don't know, or they just met, like nicknames, like like for example, sorry buddy, or mate. It's essentially like we use sort of the maintenance, what's it called, approach to dealing with strangers, to be more friendly versus the more formal. Like I feel like in Japan, for example, there's a very formal, and it'll probably be like your equivalent of sir, madame, when you meet. But I don't know. Is that maybe someone can comment in if their
might be a
nicknames
culture
might be, it's a cultural thing that's specific to Australia. But I mean, I also haven't been to many other countries, so can't really test that.
Yeah, that's true, because I'm probably only going off my own experience, which would be a bit biased. But I don't know, I like it. Well, I like it most of the time, unless like certain people. I don't know if it's like a common feeling among other people, because so if it was a male wait staff, if they called me babe, I would probably hate it. But if they called me something like, actually, I have an example. If it's like an older dude, if he calls me like sweetheart, I actually don't mind it. Or hey, doll,
sweetie.
Yeah, like I don't know, there's something endearing about that. Like I think that's cute.
When you say old, like you mean like elderly?
Yeah, just like old, like significantly older than me. Then I don't know, it just feels different. I can't explain it. I'm trying to talk it out loud now.
Different to say if it was just some guy in his 30s or 40s.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why. I'm talking out loud to try to process my thoughts right now, and honestly, it's not processing. And I think I'm not alone on it, but I also don't think it's a universal feeling, because I was talking to someone about this like not long ago, and I think it was the word doll. I think like someone in a shop like called us, oh, hey, dolls. And there's like two of us who are like both girls. And
a male said that?
Yeah. And then my friend had like such a crap reaction to it. What's the word? Well, like a negative reaction to it. Like, she's like, like, ew, I hate it when like they call you doll. It's so old school, it's so gross, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I like that. I thought it was so cute and so endearing. Like we had such different reactions to it. And I don't know if it's just playing on like our own experience or our associations and stuff. But I always found like pet names and stuff fascinating, because, okay, so there's just like those generic pet terms that like you hear in public. But it's also funny, like in significant relationships, whether it be like a couple or friendship, it's funny what you pick up. Because, for example, in a lot of female friendships, for some reason, the closer you are with someone, sometimes the more insulting that your nickname for them is. So like girls would be like, hey, B, bis, like, hey, bis, hey, slut, like, and it's like, for some reason, the closer you are, that is not like an insult. You're just like, yo. Like,
or like, hey, loser.
Yeah.
What up? Or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like something about that. And it's almost like you're so close that you're just owning something that would be an insult within you, so that other people can't use that.
It's just playful banter.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't say that to, well, actually, I'm sure people that maybe trying to be overly friendly, but not obviously knowing the person, have probably used them and maybe they've gotten a different reaction. But yes, it's a much more safe environment when it's with friends. Because I mean, really, it is an insult, like the word, but it's got I guess between friends, it is still an insult, but it's like a playful, like bit of back and forth sort of,
I think so.
Rummage. Yeah.
In high school, there was a girl that was super sarcastic, and I love sarcasm, but sometimes, I don't know, time and place and like choose who you're being sarcastic to, I guess. And she was really sarcastic, and I kind of knew that she didn't mean to be mean. But I remember she used to greet a lot of people like that, like, hey, loser, including me. And we weren't that close. And I remember one time she like said that to me. I'm like, that's really mean. Like, I don't like it when you do that. She's like, I'm just joking. And I was just like.
But that's the thing though. Like, how do you know that was just her intention was to be playful? Or is it like in some ways a sort of, what's the word where it's kind of like, it's like a veiled sort of insult?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's part of why I felt uncomfortable with it, because I was like, we're not that tight. I'm like, for all I know, you are trying to insult me in broad daylight and trying to pass it as a joke so that you look good, which I'm not okay with. And also, we're not that close. Like, don't use that on me. Like, that's a friendship level thing, or it's part of an insult. And if you want to play that game, that's a little bit different. But I remember that quite clearly. But isn't it funny how sometimes, like, something that could come across offensive, depending on the person, it can change over time. Like, something can turn it endearing. Like, you call me Nugget, and at first I was like, that's a really freaking weird pet name to call someone that you know.
Yeah, that's because I love chicken nuggets, and
that's what made me start liking it.
Because it's my favorite thing. Or the nickname is my little my little crispy pork belly, because I absolutely love crispy pork belly. It's like one of my favorite dishes.
Do you want to explain that one?
So, I don't know. Do you want me to?
Yeah, it used to really be offensive, but it's not anymore.
I guess when you think of pork, the connotation with pork is pig, and pig is, yes, it's not exactly, when someone gets called a pig, it's a pretty heavy insult. But my thing is, in calling you, like a little crispy pork belly, it's my favorite dish. But then also, when you cook pork belly in the oven, like what happens is like it kind of forms these little droplet sweats on top of it. And I think it's part of the drying process before it gets that crackling. And Doz here, when she is, exercising or, out in the sun for a bit, she also develops the same little driplet spots on her nose and face. And so I just made the connection. I was like, all right, I'm going to occasionally call you crispy pork belly.
Yes. So I don't know the science behind it, but when I start sweating, it starts on my nose and then my face. So it's like my nose, my forehead, my neck, and then the rest of my body to follow. So whenever I run or whatever, I'll just go red in the face so quickly, and I didn't know why. And then, the first time you noticed, you were like, yo.
Because I think when I sweat, it's probably like what you probably expect. Like it starts dripping from my head downwards. Maybe because I've got like mop hair, mushroom hair. That's why it's a bit more heated there, and then that's why it kind of forms that way. But I think, for you, it's like little droplets appear, and then they become bigger and bigger as, the hotter or more exercise you do.
I just search, where does sweat start on humans and why? And it's generating a response at the moment. It just says, sweat begins to form in sweat glands, which are located all over skins. These glands are typically most concentrated in areas like armpits, foreheads, palms, soles, and feet, and groin. I can't pronounce that.
Yep. Yes. It's anywhere where it's like very enclosed. Like, I mean, your armpits, like, you're like 90% of the time, your arms are always like down, and it's just going to be more heated because it's in a confined area. But interestingly, did you know, like, people, like a lot of people just absolutely hate sweating and perspirating. So
Who likes it? No, I do know someone who likes it, but continue.
Well, maybe like people are indifferent about it, more or less. Like they like whatever, it's natural. Like they can live with it. But there's some people that really hate it to a point where they actually you can actually like surgically remove like sort of the key sweat glands and
What
take
do you
them out.
mean?
Or I think another common one is Botox. I think if you inject a lot of people inject Botox like in their armpits, and then it I don't know what the actual science or the medical explanation behind it, but it just means that you don't sweat anymore. So apparently, like a lot of real estate agents, because like they're always in suits during like summer on a 40-degree day to do like open home inspections because they just need to look the part. Apparently, a lot of them do Botox in their armpits and other places just so they don't sweat, and they can wear a full suit without the sweat.
That's wild. I had no idea.
Because I think I remember reading about it because I think I was like looking into it because I also hated the idea of sweating, and mostly because I just I think there was a period where I was wearing a lot of white clothing, and then sweat and white clothing just kind of pretty much is a throwaway after a couple of months, especially during the summer. And then I looked into it and I was like, oh, okay, so there's actually like things you can medically do to not sweat. Also very popular for like grooms that get married during summer. Because again, you're wearing a full like tux or suit and you want to go out for pictures and you're going to be running around doing stuff. And so apparently it's like very popular for grooms and groomsmen to do it.
Is there anything bad about not sweating out things when you need to sweat? Like I'm sure there's a biological reasons why we have to sweat, right? It's to cool the body down?
Yeah, that's right. It's to cool the body down because I think the wetness and then
so if you're not sweating,
it means you're just a bit heated.
You could overheat.
Yeah. I didn't know I thought dogs couldn't sweat at all. But then you told me
out of their paws.
Yeah, you told me they sweat out of their paws, and then I actually like touched our dog's paw like when he was like going crazy and doing zoomies, and they were actually wet. So I thought that was a complete So is that a myth that they can't sweat then?
Who said I
just remember reading that dogs don't sweat, and that's why they pant to cool down because they don't have the biology to. Well, they have sweat glands essentially, but apparently they have them on their feet.
They have two types of sweat glands. I'm reading it fast, but it doesn't really say. Blah, 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 located on the dog's paw pads. So yes, dogs sweat through their paws.
Makes sense because that's like the only spot where it's technically
and yes, panting does help.
Exposed skin. So I guess maybe for the humans and the guys that do the Botox to not sweat, maybe they just had to like open their mouth and pant like a dog to cool down.
That's funny. That's kind of cool. It's cool. I just don't know what the like biological consequences would be to like prevent yourself from like cooling yourself down. Because I hate sweating too. So I actually hate exercise probably more because I hate sweating for more than any other reasons. Yes, it's like physically painful depending on how hard you work, but I hated the sweat thing. And I said, oh, who actually likes sweating? But I actually remember a vivid conversation I had once with someone who's like total fitness junkie, literally a fitness junkie, by the way. He wakes up at 3:45 a.m. every day without fail to start his exercise thing because he does everything in the morning. So he finishes by like 5. Then goes home, makes breakfast. He's like a dad, so then he can like start the day as a dad and a family afterwards. Mind you, he does sleep at like 8:30, 9.
Respect though, like 3:45 is like that's the shiz that like all those like self-help books talk about. When they're like, how do you better yourself? And it's always the key one is waking up early, and it's always around that early 4 a.m. because apparently it's when you're at your productive, mostly because probably everyone else is asleep, so you can actually get stuff done. But geez, 3:45 a.m. every day, even on weekends?
Yeah, every day. He was very dedicated. He's very good. And then I remember I was having a conversation because this is when I started like getting into fitness. I was like, I just don't want to do, I'm like, I know I need to do cardio because it's good for you, but I hate it because you sweat straight away and I hate sweating. And then he was saying how he loves sweating. He's like, the more drenched I get, he's like, favorite thing is like if he's like doing a cycle class, if he's fully sweating and like dripping sweat, like he feels so like accomplished and like a high from it because he means he's worked really, really hard.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of, like for me, I've just accepted sweating when I go to the gym, but I always like shower as soon as I get home. So I think building in and embedding that expectation has meant that I don't really care or have any bad association with sweat and going to the gym. Although I don't like sweating when I'm like in like, you know, like formal wear or like nice clothes because I'm like, damn it, now I have to like wash it because I know that's like technically been infiltrated by human fluids.
Oh, yeah. Do you think it's like, I don't wash my jackets every time I wear it, but a lot of people do. There's like two types of people. There's people who like wear something once and then they wash it no matter what. And then there's other people who are like, you don't wash that item. Like, you don't wash, like I don't wash jeans that often.
Yeah, jeans aren't technically supposed to be washed too often. I heard like some jeans that you can actually just chuck them into the freezer and then that apparently disinfects and cleans it.
Yeah, like I've heard that before too, but that sounds stupid to do.
But yeah, jeans aren't supposed to be because I think it's washing out the dye of the color. So you probably want to avoid that. But I always wash like the item of clothing that is touching my body. And if I've gone out and I feel like I've perspirated, then I will definitely wash like the t-shirt. But if I'm wearing a jumper or a jacket on top, I wouldn't wash that. And those would be washed very, very rare, not rarely, but periodically. Yes, yeah. Definitely. And every day is definitely like underwear, socks. Like that's for sure. Yeah. Like I would chuck them into the basket.
Yes, I agree.
I was going to say like, I feel like everyone has like some random chair or couch where they put the clothes where they're like, it's not dirty enough to put in the laundry, but it's not clean enough for me to put back in my wardrobe. And I think it's like those clothing, like those t-shirts or something that I always chuck them on there. And then somehow it ends up building to a mountain. And then I reach a point where I'm like, I can't be bothered putting it in the closet. So I just chuck it all in the laundry. But sometimes I still, search through it if I can rewear something.
I don't do that, but I know a lot of people who do that.
I know. Like, I feel like you don't do it, but I feel like if you go into anyone's like bedroom, and there's a chair there, there's probably like a 9 out of 10 chance like that's the designated like clothing holder.
Yeah. I think I can recognize it because I feel like every time I visited people's house and they let me in their room, I feel like there is always kind of like one. But yeah, I don't do that. But I definitely don't wash like certain items as often, like jackets and stuff like that, like you said. And it's kind of weird because the logic doesn't logic because technically, even if it's not touching your skin, technically outside is dirty. So if you're going outside and you're spending out like wearing it outdoors all day, technically it's actually kind of gross.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Logic
now
doesn't logic, but
now
whatever.
you kind of get into like the levels of OCD and cleanliness. Like the one thing like I definitely wash everything, and like this is even including like jeans, is when you go to like a restaurant or someplace that is very like smoky and smelly. So the number one thing like for me is like Korean barbecue. Having just actually gone a couple of days ago. Like the smell just infiltrates your clothes and even your hair as well. I feel like for like a day or two, I could like smell Korean barbecue when I just like shook my head and my hair and I'm like, all right, I think it's time for a wash. But yes, like that's when everything, even like jeans as well, I feel like I'm like very much sort of start chucking it onto the chair and then I'm like, all right, it's time to wash it.
I think hair, I don't know why, but hair does hold a lot of smell. Like anything that's quite fragrant tends to hold. So I started getting into the habit of not washing my hair every day, which is better for your hair, by the way. So when I was younger, I grew up washing my hair every day. Like that was just a thing that I did. And then when I got older, I think I just read it in a magazine once. They're like, oh, it's really bad to wash your hair every day. Like you get rid of all the natural oils, which is good for it, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, okay, fine. And then it's funny because if your hair is used to being washed every day, it gets oily really fast, like if you don't wash it. So I had to like train my hair to not be washed and be okay with not being washed. So I started with like washing every second day, then every third day. And now I can get away with washing it 1 to 2 times a week, which is not bad, with the exception of like, you do something that gets really dirty, then you wash it. But it's so much better because of those occasions now. Because the problem is like if you go out to eat or you cook something that's quite fragrant, not only like smoky barbecues and stuff like that, like even when you like eat noodle soup, like pho and stuff like that, the smell gets in your hair. And it's so annoying. So it's like, it's just like now I feel like less bad because like if I don't wash my hair for a couple of days, I'm like, oh, I can eat this. Like I can eat this because I'm washing my hair in like 2 days.
Oh, you kind of plan your meals based on your cycle of washing your hair. Yeah, I think food. Yeah, noodle soup definitely. I'm trying to think what else is like really
like curries and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I think like for me, I only wash my hair once a week. But that really was driven from like after doing like a soft perm, normal perm. I think like wash because obviously it's chemically treated, and the more you wash it, the more you're washing out those chemicals, and then it would go back to sort of straight versus curly. Because I'm trying to preserve it as long as I can. That's why I'm like, all right, I'm going to wash my hair just once a week. But it was a big struggle because it's like when I go to the gym and I'm sweating, I like really want to wash it, but I've now sort of accepted that it's kind of one or the other. Because I used to wash my hair every day. But I've noticed since I've moved on to a much more irregular cycle, like my hair is just a lot less dull. It's got a bit more of a sheen. It's a lot more silky, smooth. Whereas I think back when I was washing it every day, it was very like overly frizzy, dull, and just dry looking. Yeah, it wasn't really good looking.
Yeah. I hope no one's judging our hair right now. If you're watching the visual version, I'm actually due for a hair wash. So if it's looking a little bit extra shiny, then I apologize.
Because I only wash it like the last day of the week. So.
What did you just say?
I said I normally also wash it the last day of the week. So I'm on like the 6th day. So tomorrow's.
Oh, 6. That's impressive. That's like better than me.
Yeah, but I just told you because I'm like trying to like make my money's worth with my perm, But I've also, like I said, like also with the perm, like after you wash it, there's a little bit of a process on like styling whilst it's wet, and then it almost sets into itself, and then that gets you for the next couple of days. So it's almost a bit of a task. Like if you wash it often, you have to style it more, and I'm just too lazy to have to do that. So I only have to style it once a week, and then it generally lasts. It looks great the first couple of days, and then you kind of start seeing it deteriorating, and then it sort of resets after I wash it again. Yeah.
It's amazing how much laziness it's amazing how much laziness plays a role in us making certain decisions about our lives or what we want to do, whether it be how often we wash our hair, if we're going to eat something, if we're going to see someone.
Sometimes you think about it, you could also inversely think about that people that are the most lazy are the most efficient because they will find the most simplest and quickest way to do something.
Yeah.
And they will not over-engineer a solution to a problem. They will find something that's pretty much, does this get the job done? Yes, done.
I agree.
And there's also like very lazy people where they just don't do anything, and they're not sort of proactive, and then they
different type of lazy.
Yeah. It's all about balance. There's a level of
our favorite word.
It's all about you balance laziness with still delivering outcomes and outputs at the end of the day.
It's interesting because I have a few people I look up to in terms of like being a leader in work. And one of the people I kind of like look up to, they were talking to me about how there's different types of leaders and there's different types of people who will thrive under different leadership. So one, you're never ever going to get it right because everyone works a little bit differently. So everyone needs a different type of manager, leader, mentor, right?
Mm.
But I really like the way this leader leaders, because I think this is what I thrive under, plus how I would want to leader as well, which is being a lazy leader. But that doesn't mean not doing anything. Being a lazy leader means that you acknowledge what can be delegated. You acknowledge that even if it means it's slower for this person to do a particular task because they're learning it for the first time, versus if you do it and you can do it in a day, it's still better for the other person to do it. So like in a way, on the surface, it looks like you're being a lazy person by not doing this task. But by kind of like letting someone else do it or own it, you're actually empowering that person. And I thought that was a really good lesson because I think it's so easy sometimes to just focus on like an outcome of a task and not about the people.
Yeah.
So then you end up relying on like the highest performer, the person who's going to do it the quickest. And no one takes the chance with letting someone make a mistake, letting people try, and then knowing that there's going to be multiple rounds of revision, or, you know, giving the junior a go at it instead of giving them a mundane task. I think that's overlooked because like in life as well, sometimes it's just so fast paced. There's like this like unspoken pressure to go, do more, do this, be productive. And I think it's like very easy to forget that like, hey, it's okay to slow down. It's okay to rest. It's okay to make mistakes, fail fast. Like all that is okay. And people forget. That's why there's all these memes online about juniors, entry-level jobs requiring like 5 years of experience. Like that's not entry level.
Yeah, I think the expectation, I don't know whether it's just the job market at the moment, but it's been clearly sort of distorted because, you know, as a lot of graduate roles, like the whole purpose is, you know, for that first year, it's all about being a sponge and learning and not necessarily doing, but you need to be involved with seeing how things are done. So then when you come back as a full-fledged staff, you can put what you've learned in theory and heard in theory into practice.
Mm.
But I think I really appreciate your point around like having to make mistakes for you to learn. I feel like for me personally, I can like hear advice and tell me to not do this or to not buy this or etc. And I find that I have to make that mistake and realize it, and I have an epiphany or a moment that I'm like, all right, I won't do it again. It's kind of like I feel like one sort of very memorable incident when I was a kid was the stove. Very curious about fire, and you know, my mum would be like, "Don't touch it; it's hot." But I touched it anyway, and then I learned after that to not touch the stove. But I had to touch it, experience the burn before I then was like, "All right, move on." You know, and that was even after her telling me not to do it and being like giving me the answers. I just felt like I still had to do it and experience myself, and then I learned.
I think that's common, but yeah, 100%. Like you got to make mistakes. Like, and I think as humans, we got to be better at like being okay with making mistakes and failures. And when people are giving you feedback or criticizing you or whatever, it's not always meant to attack you. It's just pointing out something, and it's just benefiting you to be better. There's a quote I really like. It sounds kind of mean, but it's like, I love this quote. Like I remind myself all the time about it. Don't be sorry, just do better. It sounds so mean.
Sorry, don't. Oh, yeah.
It sounds so mean because in certain circumstances and in certain contexts, it is mean. Like you wouldn't, if someone says sorry, like saying back, don't be sorry, just do better. It's like so mean.
It's very, it's very direct.
Yes.
Because obviously when someone makes a mistake and they know about it, they're not going to purposely do it again the next time.
Yeah.
So it's almost, it's implicit in that already, and I think that just bringing it to an explicit surface where you're like, is that meant as a dig that I will like make a mistake again?
Yeah,
That's why it was said.
But as a general concept.
Yes, yeah. But I would never say that myself because I feel that's too direct and blunt.
Depending how close I am to the person, I would probably say it. But I think like to a general interaction, I think the nicer thing to be is to be like, it's okay. Now you know, so we can do better next time. I think
that's better. Yeah. That's a lot more toned down.
But I like the bluntness. Like if I was the type of person that had like word quotes and motivational posters up on my wall, that would be one of them, just saying. Or like on a jumper. It's funny.
Might be one for you to say to yourself. Because it's always good to be direct and blunt with yourself. And we are our own worst critic. But I don't know for anyone else, particularly, if you're managing junior staff, like don't scare them off by saying that.
There's a few quotes. Do you have like quotes in your head that like kind of like change your brain chemistry about how you should like approach life and do things that you just think about all the time?
Not necessarily quotes, but it's more experiences and particular situations that have changed my perception of things. I don't really think in quotes, so that's very poetic of you.
Oh, thanks. I love
these quotes also rhyme as well, or they're just
no. They're just things. They're just words that articulate things really well. So the two that I always think of first is "Don't be sorry, just do better." One. Sorry, I have three. Three that I always remember. The second one is "Be the change you want to see in the world." Because I like the idea of like people always say that like, oh, what they do is insignificant, but if everyone does it, then it really is going to make a change. So I always think about that.
Yeah.
And the third one, which I've only adopted recently, is you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate.
Thank you. Yeah.
Because that one was a hard one to learn because it's not nice that you don't always get what you deserve. So it sucks that you have to kind of sometimes be proactive.
Yeah, it's a good life lesson. I think this is the one that resonates a lot with pay. So I'm assuming where it probably connects the most. Where if you don't, because if you don't ask for a pay rise, most likely the company's not going to offer it to you, and it's the people that ask and have the hard conversations are the ones that get those pay increases. Actually, I do have one that I always sort of like to quote a lot to people is that you work to live, you don't live to work. You work to live, not live to work.
That's a good one.
Which is just going back to that, we have jobs, but at the end of the day, we're working those jobs to fund, a life outside of that. So don't make your job your life.
I really do like quotes. So when I read like books, I like to highlight a lot of stuff, whether I think it articulates really well or it's a good life lesson, or sometimes it's just really funny. So I'm trying to look up some of them. I like this one, for example. This is a bit romantic. So speaking about being poetic, this one's from a book called The Wicked King, which is the second book in the series by Holly Black. And the quote reads, "The feeling of falling in love is very like the feeling of fear. Your heart beats fast, your senses are heightened."
Oh yeah, that's actually one of the
psychology lessons.
Yeah, around like how the heart rates, essentially the multidimensional impacts of heart rates, where you could have the same heart rate from being up on a skyscraper and nearly falling versus like going on a first date. Yeah.
This one's a funny, like this one I highlighted because I thought it was just funny. It's from the Atlas series that I spoke about last episode before, can't remember. Also, I finished the series. Third book is not as good as the rest. It's kind of like slowly got worse. So I don't know if I can speak as highly about the Atlas series as I did originally, but I'll still watch the show when it comes out. And this one just says, "He was polite or just British, unclear which applied more closely."
That's a
I thought
funny
that was
one.
funny.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. I think that's what makes I don't know. I just like words. Maybe because I'm not always the best at articulating, and that I just like other people writing stuff. And there is something romantic about when things are really well written and it's poetry.
Yeah, but I think you're just like you said. You're sort of a what's the word? Like you're saying you're a sucker for the romantics.
I said it before, I'll say it again. Fiction wise, I love so many things that I would hate in real life. So we talked about the type of guys I like. Like I hate men in general in real life, but in fiction, love them. They're great, certain types. But even just in general, there's certain stories and things that I'm so attracted to in stories, particularly really cheesy romance, something a bit over the top, right?
Is this like your typical, what's his name again? Nicholas Sparks.
I
kind
do
of stuff?
like a handful of Nicholas Sparks stuff. I
Isn't
like
there always someone dying and then the person
in a lot of them, yes.
and then the person obviously loves them and they die and that's
But yes, I like the trope of love conquers all. He'll do everything for you. If he wanted to, he would. I like that trope. But the funny thing is, in real life, that's gross. It's too much.
That's like codependency.
It's gross.
It's an unhealthy level of attachment to someone.
Yeah. But I don't
Romeo
know
and
why.
Juliet style, I can't live without you. Go on.
Yeah.
That what
But
happens actually?
there's
I think so, yeah. They both die, yeah.
yes.
I can't remember why.
I didn't follow Shakespeare that much, if I'm honest.
I didn't follow it
don't know.
either, but I feel like that's it's very well known. And then maybe it might be something that
How pretty
people
is the name
studied.
Juliet? It's such a pretty name.
Yeah. Yeah. I
The
don't,
way it sounds, the way it looks.
the association is the character Juliet from the Shakespeare
Yeah.
play. I can't, that's the connotation or the connection for me. I don't recognize any other Juliet.
I don't know any. Oh, there's been a few in the books I read, but it's just such a pretty name.
It's synonymous with the Shakespeare character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, isn't it weird that some names are pretty by sound and some names are pretty by the way they look? I think certain letters and certain lengths of names are pretty.
Mm.
So what's another pretty name? Annabelle's a really pretty name, the way it looks and sounds as well.
Do you like that name? Because I know you're watching that show, House of Dragon. Alicent? Alicent? Sorry.
I didn't have the reaction of I like your name when I heard it, so maybe
Alicent.
not.
But
it is a pretty name.
Yeah.
I think A's are nice names.
Yeah, maybe you have bias towards A names. Because I have the same with names starting with J. I feel like the letter J is for male names with J's are just associated with being very handsome. That name,
Jamieson,
like Josh, James.
Oh, we went very different. I like long names, like James. How do I pronounce this? Jameson.
Jameson.
Jamison.
Jamie.
I'm sorry that I don't know how
Now
to say
you're
your name.
messed up how I would, because I normally know how to say it, but now you've triggered me to question if I was saying it right. Jameson. It's like the alcohol, Jameson. That's why I know it.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. There's a book I'm reading. No, I read. I highly recommend it. It went viral on TikTok years ago. It's called, the first book was called The Inheritance Game. Maybe that's what it's called. It's by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It's a mystery. It's mystery first. There's a bit of romance, but it's more mystery than anything else. It follows a girl that kind of comes from poverty, doesn't have a lot of money, and then one day she inherits she becomes the heiress to a billionaire who passes away. He writes his inheritance to her, But in order for her to claim that inheritance, she has to go to the house where the 4 grandsons of that billionaire lives, and like goes through all these games by a certain time to claim it. The whole mystery is around like why her, because she's like a nobody. Like they're like, you have no association with this family. Where did you come from? And also there's all this mystery in the game because the main grandfather that like had passed away, like he's always liked games. So then the 4 brothers are like really into like solving riddles and stuff like that because that's all they've done their whole life. So you get introduced to a lot of like riddles and stuff during the book, which is really fun. It's a really fun book to read. It's very easy to read. It's a good plot. And the riddles are just well written. Like, I don't know. Like I was like, ooh, I was engaged the whole time. The pacing is good as well. There's 3 books in this series and there's a few spin-offs and stuff like that. Some of the spin-offs just came out, so I just finished those as well. But there's 4 names in there, the 4 main brothers. And they all have really pretty names, not just because of their characters, but just in general. And I figured it out. It's because they're like long, like written long. So Jamieson's one, they call him Jamie. Grayson's another one. Like Grayson's pretty.
Yeah, I guess.
There's a 3rd one is named Alexander, and then they just call him Sander, which I think is also very cute.
Never heard of that.
And then the 4th, Sander.
I mean, Alexander, like the
Just
obvious, the obvious sort of nickname or shortening is Alex. I haven't heard Xander. I have heard the name Xander on its own, but not as a shortened version of Alexander. Yeah.
Weirdly enough, the 4th brother's name's Nash, but he's my least favorite anyways. But going back to Xander. So yeah, like circling back to nicknames, it's interesting because some people will name their kids or just like name kids after what they want their nicknames to be. But then sometimes they're like, oh, but I better give them a real name. So they give them like a long full name. So like Evie from Evelyn, like you would name the kid Evelyn, but you would just actually want to call them Evie. Like you wouldn't just call them Evie. Or some people do though. I do know like.
Well, I mean, remember like how like in Australia we've renamed McDonald's Macca's. That's like now the official name. So nicknames sometimes are just so popular they just become the
adopted name.
Yeah, whether it's official or unofficial, but it becomes the name. And then I've actually seen like a few people, like even on like emails where they're like if you had to search for them formally on a directory, like their nickname is actually their official name in the system. You know, it's not like Nicholas, it's Nick as in NIC. That's it.
I know a Michael, he prefers Mike over anything else. And then he was like going through it at work to trying to change everything so that it was Mike instead of Michael.
Yes. And actually there's also someone that I know of that's, has the same, like I thought it was short for Michael, but then I looked at the signature, what's it called again? The in the
directory?
Email. No, it's like in the email, and then it has like all the details of the people. What do you call that? It's like a block, like a signature block.
Contact box? I don't know.
Well, anyway, it's like the sign off sort of
or signature.
Yeah, signature-ish. I don't know. It's an official thing. I always struggle to find it because when I go into email to change my details, sometimes I don't even know where it is. I have to always do like a search, but yeah, that is, but then also like on your sort of, chat software, it's Mike, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We're probably at time. So let's wrap things up a little bit with our desserts. So desserts are an intentional moment that we are taking to appreciate the sweet moments of our life, whether it be something that's happened recently or something we just think of right now. Yeah, literally just practicing gratitude, whether it be something small or big. Can you think of anything, or do you want me to go first?
Go first.
Okay, let me think. What do I appreciate? What am I thinking about? I guess like just because literally it's in front of me right now, I'm grateful for having easy access to clean, fresh water. Like I think that's something that a lot of people take for granted a lot. So this is me calling out and reminding you that we should be grateful for easily accessible clean water.
Mine is food related, as always. Very grateful that where we live, there is actually such an abundance of different cuisines. Because it's reflective of Australia being very multicultural, and you can sort of turn a corner and you have Indian, Italian, Japanese, Korean, pretty much anything. So very much grateful. And I only thought of that because we had Korean barbecue, and it was very delicious. Because when I went to Korea last year, I kind of fell in love with this raw crab dish that they do, where you kind of, I think you're normally supposed to like scoop it out and put it on rice, but I just eat the crab. Don't even bother with the rice. But this Korean the restaurant had it, and I ate so many of them. It was delicious.
Yum. Great. And then meal prep. So goals for the week, things we're looking forward to, things to do that we want to call out just to make ourselves a little bit more accountable and just to kind of put it out in the world. I'll go first. I told everyone I need to touch more grass this weekend because I've fallen into a hole. I mean, I'm always in a hole, like watching or reading or playing a game or whatever. But I felt like in the last few weeks it's been extra bad. That I just like don't know what's going on in like current affairs and stuff like that. In real life and what's going on with my friends and stuff.
Sorry, what was that got to do with touching grass?
That's like a slang. I think is a slang. Where it's like basically saying like go as like normally like if you're playing games all day they'll be like go outside and touch grass because like you need to go outside and touch the real world again.
I've never heard of that.
And like check in real life again. Like that's the expression.
Okay.
Go touch grass.
All right,
so I need to touch grass. I need to like put myself back into real life, figure out what the hell's going on in the world with my friends, with my family. And I do need to do that. So I'm going to touch more grass in the next few weeks and try not to fall into a hole again.
Okay, well, interesting. Because that's a new saying that I've only first heard now. I would have thought it was associated with like going outside into nature and immersing yourself in all things green and flowery, etc.
Well, that would count.
But this is like it just literally means going out and experiencing life.
Yeah, be in the real world, basically.
Yeah. For me, I would I'm gonna keep mine really boring actually. I just need to actually do my taxes. It's like already September and I haven't even bothered at least organizing it for it to be done. So that's gonna be on my to-do list. So hopefully next time we are reflecting on things we did do, we're looking forward to, I can say, I've done my taxes and I have to do it again until next year.
Hey, it's an important one.
Yes, what's the saying? Life, death, and taxes are the two certain things in your life.
I've never heard that in my life. My quotes are a lot more romantic than that.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure it is one.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, listening in. We appreciate you. We thank you for spending some of your time with us. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Peace. Cheers.